Shruti,
Good evening to
Shruti, can you share poster now? Shruti, you can share poster now.
Ma'am, I'm sharing the poster.
Okay. Anmol, please start.
good evening to all present. Before we commence with the session, I would request you all to follow some of the protocols for the smooth conduct of the session. All the participants have to rename themselves to the name they have registered with. During the session, all participants are to keep their video disabled and microphones on mute. You may drop your questions in the chat box for the question and answer session at the end. Your presence is requested throughout the webinar. The certificates will be provided to those who have registered, attended, and filled the feedback form for the session. The link for which will be circulated at the end. Your cooperation is solicited. Good evening. Teachers, welcome to this webinar on cybercrime and preventive. We at Shivaji College, a premier of University of Delhi, accredited with grade A, community service to make a significant contribution towards society. By establishing an economic school of thought where everyone's views are taken into account as to how the youth of the nation can redefine the notions and unravel the creativity inside us. In today's digital world, the importance of cybersecurity is rising. There was a time when the locks on doors and lockers were what counted as security. But now, the real threat is digital. As hacker finds more ways to attack digital assets, it has become extremely important for us to secure our cyberspace. With an objective to address these security issues, we have with us an industrial specialist, founder, and director of New Era Systems, Ms. Priyanka Tomar. Now, I request Dr. Shiv Kumar Sede, Principal of Shivaji College, to enlighten the audience with his encouraging words.
Thank you, Anmol. Ms. Priyanka Tomar, all esteemed participants, my dear colleagues and dear students, I am very happy that SPADE, the Society for Practical Applications and Development of Economics, Shivaji College, has organized today's webinar on a very important topic of cyber crime and preventive measures. And as we know that with an increasing mobility towards a digital and cashless world, and with all our finances and operations being online, it grows the need to ensure that our online data is in safe hands. And so does the need to be aware of how to ensure this safety. The students and faculty of the college has been conducting and attending their classes online, and the college has been continuously working to ensure a smooth conduct online. The situation was complemented with the need for a conversation on how to ensure a safe cyber presence for both the groups, how to ensure confidentiality of information and avoid compromising our data. We, these are some questions we asked ourselves when we shifted online. So today's webinar will address all these curiosities and questions, and I'm sure that you will be benefited from today's webinar. And once again, I must congratulate the SPADE Society of the college and my best wishes for the success of today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. I would take this opportunity to introduce our speaker of the day. Ms. Priyanka Tomar has nearly 2 decades of work experience in various IT fields, including cybersecurity and cyber forensics. She has done a BSc, MCA, and PG diploma in cybersecurity and is a certified ethical hacker. Ms. Tomar is responsible for complete management and administrative work of 9 research and development projects under Cybercrime Prevention Against Women and Children Scheme, Ministry of Home Affairs. These projects were awarded to various IITs, NITs, and IIITs to design and develop solutions to curb social media crime. We are honored to have you among us, ma'am. Now, without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to Priyanka, ma'am.
Thank you, Anmol. And I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Sahadev, to Dr. Prabudh, and entire team of volunteers of Shivaji College, who has been actively working towards spreading the awareness about the webinar so that they can spread awareness about the cybercrime, which is increasing day by day. So I thank all of you. And without wasting more time, I'd like to come to the point directly. So I share my screen now. So when we talk about the cybercrime is a criminal activity that either targets or uses a computer or network of computers or digital devices, even today's smartphones. So when cybercrime is committed by cybercriminals or hackers normally who want to make money, but this is partially truth. Truth is cybercrime is being carried out by the individuals as well as the organizations, plus countries are also involved into it. It has widened its scope. So many types of crimes are happening nowadays. But there are many myths also. Sometimes when we talk about the cybercrime or even when I go for cybercrime awareness program like this is happening today, people do say that I am the ordinary citizen having no big bank balance. So why should I worry? I am safe. But this is a complete myth. We will break this myth today. Sometimes people do say, so what? When we say that do not share your intimate photographs, personal photographs, or when you are going for outing, do not disclose these things on the social media. People, even students do say, what is wrong if we are sharing, stuff like this? These are my personal and decent photographs, so it is quite fine. It is perfect. So, and I hope many of the students from the Shivaji College also participated into that very famous challenge which was going on during COVID time. That was Sari challenge. So I do not know how many of you participated, but that was also part of a cybercrime. You may be aware or you may not be aware. We will discuss about that also. Sometimes people do say that it is safe to share the data with the big companies as they have a strong infrastructure or support system is in place. But that is also a myth. Sometimes people do say higher version phones are safe. Apple phone is safe. If I'm using smartphone of very high version, that is safe. Or some people have switched to Linux operating system nowadays. So Linux is safe, but it is not true. These are all myths. Now we come to the next slide. Here, survey report says that 70% victims are ordinary citizens and 30% are celebrities. So what cyber criminals are doing, they are targeting ordinary citizens. They, withdraw the money or they dupe them into small amount of chunks, say 1 lakh rupees, 1,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, and they are making huge money end of the day. Few months ago, we heard that 500 million Facebook users were found exposed on the AWS. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. These are the cloud server where Facebook is hosted. So if Facebook, which is a huge company that is using Amazon services, which itself is a big infrastructure, it's a renowned name, if data is not safe over there, so just imagine if you share your personal photographs or confidential information, whether it is via Facebook Messenger or it is directly through post or you are sharing personal messages, that means it is not safe. What if it goes into the wrong hand? How will you protect yourself as well as your family members or friends or colleagues, whatsoever it is? Another incident which happened, I do not know whether you read about it into the media or not, the Just Dial was data breached. 2 months ago, one Delhi-based pathology lab was attacked by a ransomware, and people, those cyber criminals asked that you pay us the ransom amount into the form of bitcoins. I'm sure that students are aware about this Bitcoin currency. Another point is hackers are exploiting vulnerabilities, whether it is iOS or Android or Windows or Linux. So that means we are living into the vulnerable world. We are not safe. And because colleges of economics, so I would like to point out one point. Gartner is a very famous company, international company, that has estimated that worldwide information security market will reach somewhere around $170.4 billion by 2020 only. So just imagine how big is the market. So if security market is big, that means cybercrime is going, it is beyond the limits. Another key point is, though we will be discussing how cyber criminals are targeting ordinary people or even celebrities, what is their modus of operandi? I will be talking about those. I will be sharing some real case stuff also. But it has been found that email attachments is the common methodology used by cyber criminals, and the attachments are of .doc and .dot type. This is again survey by the Symantec, which is a big company into the security solutions. And another survey says that is by University of Maryland, that hackers are attacking every 39 seconds. That means on an average 2,244 times a day. So I believe that the myth we were discussing just 2 minutes ago, those are being away now. These are the main cybercrime types. Participants may go through this slide. I will be covering the important out of these. Some 5-6 types we will be taking up over here. I'll be discussing the modus of operandi along with the preventive measures. Participants can participate via chat also if they have not heard any of these types, or if they find that this is new or they want to hear something about that. So they may write into the chat option. Today I will be covering these types. One is eSIM fraud, SIM swap fraud, OLX QR code fraud, social media and friendship, any desk and team viewer frauds, mobile apps and cyber fraud, and then fake websites. And what we can do to prevent ourselves. And eSIM swap is something which is very common nowadays, and since during COVID time, it has increased. It is increasing day by day, and police is after the cyber criminals, and people are being trapped like nothing. Any idea about eSIM swap? If anyone would like to share in the chat room. Delhi police recently arrested 2 scammers. They duped a Delhi resident of somewhere around 7.9 lakhs or 7.10 lakhs, something about this. Then similar type of crime is happening in other states also, where cyber criminals are targeting ordinary people. What they do, what is the modus of operandi? Let us understand that. Cyber criminals are calling up the ordinary citizens. They pretend that they are calling from the mobile service providers. Mobile service providers, it could be Airtel, it could be Vodafone. So they say that I am from Airtel or Vodafone, and they ask them to upgrade the services. You are using say 2G, 3G, and we are offering you the free 4G or 5G upgradation. So victim will definitely agree to it because he feels that it is good to be on the better network. So now there are 2 kind of SIMs. One is the physical SIM which we insert into our handsets. Another is the eSIM, wherein we are not provided any physical SIM. What happens is we have to register with our email ID with the service provider, and that email ID is activated by the service provider, which is Airtel or Vodafone in our case. Once they activate this email ID, then I need not to use any physical SIM. My phone will be working on the eSIM. So if I'm doing any banking transactions or OTP are coming up or whatsoever it is, it will work in the similar fashion. So iPhones which are above 10, iPhone 10, 11 Pro Max, these all are supporting physical as well as the eSIM. And another smartphones of higher versions are also supporting eSIM. So what cyber criminals are doing, they call up and person agrees, okay, convert or upgrade me to the 4G. Even people are not aware whether their phone is supporting eSIM or not, but they agree to it. Now what this cyber criminal or cyber fraudster do is, first thing is they want to know whether this particular mobile number is associated with a bank or not, whether this person is using this particular number for banking facilities. How do they check it? They simply open the websites, bank websites. They put in they already have the person's mobile number, phone number, plus name, addresses, these kind of details they already have. How they get it? They get it either they buy it, because this kind of data is available in the market and these people can buy this data. One thing. Second thing is, sometimes what happens when executives are coming up and there is a gang. Some people from the bank or say from Airtel service provider or Vodafone service provider, they are forming a gang. 2 people from here, 2 people from there. They get the data like this. Now what these people are doing, they are putting up one bank account number over there, and if screen pops up for OTP, it makes them sure that this person is using that particular mobile number for his or her banking services, because it is asking for the OTP. So it is sure that this XYZ person is using this particular number for the banking. Now they are sure. Now their victim or their target is confirmed. Now they will call that particular victim, ask upgradation of the services, and if the victim agrees, in that case, they ask him or ask her to drop one SMS to the service provider, and they will say that you write this message, wherein they will be providing their own email ID, and cyber criminal will be giving some email ID like this, airtel1234@gmail.com. So people feel that this is the original ID of Airtel or Vodafone. So once they activate the service, or if sometimes what happens is people are smart. They say that, okay, I will not send the message, something like this. So what these people are doing, they are very smart in trapping the ordinary person. They call him up, they will engage him in the talks, and simultaneously they win the confidence of that person, and they make him or make her to drop the message. So once user has sent the activation request or upgradation request, that person's email ID is registered. Now what happens is, service provider will be sending the QR code to that particular email ID, and that email ID belongs to cyber criminal. Now whatever at the time of banking transactions, if OTP is coming up, that OTP will go to cyber criminal. That OTP will never reach to the person to whom that particular bank account involves. Now that person will phone will not work. There will not be any network on that person's phone. Sometimes people assume maybe some network glitch, it will be fine within an hour or two. By the time they make multiple transactions and money is gone, when victim approaches the bank, that time that bank says that I am not responsible because you have shared your details, we have sent the OTP on your phone number, bank is not responsible for your mistake. So what we can do in such scenario, first thing is, we have to make sure that whatever messages or notifications are coming up on our devices or emails, we have to be very cautious, need not to click anywhere. If I have to do any KYC, then I should visit the retail store face to face. No need to provide these documents via phone or SMS. So this is something very common. and almost daily n number of cases are coming up in various states, and police trying to get the victims. Another common type is SIM swap fraud. SIM swap fraud, it was very popular before this COVID time. It happened during COVID also. In this, people do have the fake documents or forged document of people. They visit the retail store, they get issued the duplicate SIM, and after getting the duplicate SIM, they do the banking transaction just like they are doing into the eSIM swap fraud. So both are the same thing, only the thing is in the SIM swap, physical card is there, and in the eSIM, virtual card is there, or you may say that chip is already programmed or chip is already fixed into the handset. If you have any query about these two, we may take up, or we may take up the questions at the end of the session, as you say.
Ma'am, we have a specific question answer round at the end of the session.
All right. Then we take up at the end of the session. The third type is OLX and QR code fraud. So, and this website is also used by students, or even who are living in the PG, or even senior people also to buy or sell some stuff. Almost 2 months ago, one of my known, they also had some problem with the OLX. What happened is, one particular fellow posted some item, he wanted to sell it in say 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees only. He received one request from OLX, and that fellow said that I am from the defense and this is my ID card. He shared his ID card along with the photograph, address, employee code, etc. Everything was mentioned there. And he said, I am willing to buy your stuff. So he said, I'll make you the advance payment and you may send me the item later on. So he said that this is the amount and I'll be generating the QR code. You have to simply scan the QR code and amount will come into your account. But always remember, whenever you have, and this, what this fellow did, he scanned the QR code, rather coming the money into his account, money went away from his account. Those 3,000, 4,000 rupees has been deducted from his account. Then because that fellow was on the phone, he said, okay, don't worry, there has been some mistake or confusion. You do one thing, I'll be sending you another QR code, you scan that and you will get the money back. He again did the same, and in 3-4 transactions, he lost somewhere around 25 to 30,000 rupees. After that, that so-called defense personnel phone was off. He was not traceable. They could not do anything about it. So what happens is, people are not aware that QR code is required only if you have to transfer money. In case you want to receive the money, in that case, QR code is not necessary at all. So if you are willing to accept money and somebody is sending you the QR code, make sure that it is a complete trap. Now the fourth one is social media and friendship. It is very common, and daily on my Facebook request, social media accounts, I am receiving the complaints from many girls, sometimes even boys also. So what happens is, students, especially teenagers, or say up to 20-25 maximum, mostly those people are the target. They do share sometimes very emotional or sentimental status over there. These cyber criminals or fraudsters, they do track these kind of profile, who is having what kind of hobbies, whether personal is emotional or sentimental, or whether he is looking for some emotional support. Because due to COVID, many people, lost their loved ones or say family members. They were down. They do post whatever do come into their mind. So these people do like the post which these people are posting, especially the girls. And after doing this thing for, say for a month's time or something like that, they are not in hurry at all. Then they will send a friendship request. The girl accepts the request, and after that they start conversation through Facebook Messenger. Then phone numbers are exchanged, then they are on phone. and then it takes the shape of a so-called love. Then the person, because these are the criminals or fraudsters, they trap the girl. And this case happened a few months ago. One girl, she was living in Noida and was living in a rented accommodation. And the boy was from Bihar. They get into friendship, and he comes to Noida to meet that girl. After some time, he went back. Then again, he comes and they start living together. After living in, they came into the relationship. After a relationship, after some time, the girl got pregnant, and then she starts pressing the boy to get married. Now boy says, okay, let me go back to my hometown. I'll convince my parents and we will get married. But that boy never returns. And this is something which is very commonly happening. That girl is not having any boy's parents number, his address, his phone number, the phone number she had, that is switched off. So first thing is that she is emotionally hurt, mentally she is disturbed, her job is being affected, whatever happened to her, that is altogether a different thing, and that boy is not traceable till today. It has been almost 2-3 months. And these kind of cases are happening not with the adults, these are happening with the small children also. So purpose of these kind of webinars or awareness program is that whatever we are learning in any program or webinar, we should convey these things to our own family members or to our, in the society or school, colleges, wherever. Cyber criminals do Reiki, and they are targeting even small age children, and they trap them. After trapping, they force them to do certain kind of things. Sometimes they do take their photographs and they sell this kind of data on dark web. If you have heard the term dark web, they sell it at a number of places. And as we were talking about this sari challenge, so because I'm also using Facebook, I saw many people, even who are working with me, who are professionals or who are from IT background, non-IT backgrounds, they were posting their photographs in the saris. But this was the complete fraud. What was happening? People were collecting these kind of images, and they are making one program using artificial intelligence. They were doing some coding, and after that they were using these photographs for their own vested interest. They can use your photographs the way they want. If you will go through the Facebook terms and condition or Google terms and condition or Instagram or whatsoever application you use, you will find it clearly written that they may use your photographs or your information as they want. So that means you have no right on your stuff. You have no right on your photograph, on your messages, whatever you have posted over social media, that is their property. And those images are being used, and it's a big kind of thing, and it is not happening at a small scale. Even organizations are involved into it. One country is working against another country for their own vested interest. It's a big politics which we may not understand. Nowadays crime is not, or wars are not happening, 101 basis, like, I'm older than you people. What I have seen, Kargil, when we were child, Kargil happened. So that is 101. But it has reduced. Now what countries are targeting? They are killing the country's younger generation. So if our younger generation is lost, that means entire economy is gone, country is gone. Some games are coming up, PUBG, addictions are coming up. And once person is addicted, or our country's younger generation or children are addicted to it, who will do some work for the country or for the family? That means after couple of years, country will be vanished. So no need to be at border and do 101 firing and killing people. Just work. They are working on the psychology of the citizens and finishing the country. So it is not about this particular cyber crime to up to the individual. It has a very big vision. Depends how do they plan. And many countries, say whether it is China or Pakistan, we hear so many stuff, so many things are coming up. Data is being misused, photographs are being misused, or sometimes girls or even boys are being blackmailed. It's not that these kind of crimes are not happening with the boys. These are happening with the boys also, and they are also being blackmailed. Another modus of operandi is by using some remote control applications like AnyDesk or TeamViewer, which I am sure students must be aware of. They will be using AnyDesk and TeamViewer. I think it is about 1 month ago or maybe 20 days ago only. Case happened with a girl who is living in Noida. She ordered one burger using the Swiggy app. She places the order. Order was only for 178 rupees, but she never received the order, and her app was showing the status like burger has been delivered to her. But when she did not receive, she chatted with the executive who was available on the Swiggy app. So he said that restaurant is closed and it will take more time and we cannot deliver it now. And if you wish, I will cancel the order and you will get the refund. So the girl got angry and she said, okay, I will talk to someone else. She Googled, and from Google, she found one customer care number that was of Swiggy as per her statement. But in reality, it does not belong to Swiggy. What cyber criminals do, they use search engine optimization services, and they customize the customer care numbers of their own, and they market as it belongs to Swiggy or it belongs to HP or Zomato or something like that. So she Googled, she picked up one customer care number which was being reflected as the Swiggy customer care number, but in reality it was not. She called that number. The person picks up the call and says, okay, I'll connect you with my senior and he will help you in getting the refund. She says, fine. She puts off the phone. After some time, she receives a call. Person says that I'm calling from Swiggy and I'll help you in getting the refund. So he directs her. Then he says, okay, you install this app. He asks her to install AnyDesk. And as she installs the AnyDesk on her phone, he can see whatever is happening on her phone. So he asked for certain details, her bank account detail and that number. Whatever she was typing, he could see that. And she lost somewhere around 21,000 rupees, whatever balance she had in her account. So this is one methodology. And not about this Swiggy app, even what another case happened, which I think it happened, I think couple of months ago. A lady from Mumbai, she wanted to cremate her pet. So she was looking for some NGO who can help her in cremation. Again, she Googled, she found some number, and rather helping her in cremation, her money was duped. So here point is that these AnyDesk TeamViewer applications should not be installed if some unknown is asking you to install it. Another point is sometimes people are using fake websites. They say that we will offer you the loan at very cheaper rates, or we will help you in opening up the multiple accounts. We are offering you some discounts or something like that. So how to check these fake websites, I'll tell you in the preventive measures. So, and nothing comes free, always remember it. Because we are running short of time, so I'll go to the preventive measures directly. So point number one is nothing free. If you find something, if that is lying on the road, whether it is 1,000 rupees or if it is a pen drive or if any device, never pick it up. You never know what harm it can lead to you. Be suspicious of the apps that promises very high discounts. Nothing comes free. No one will sell his or her item into the loss if they are not making the profits. So never be trapped like this. If you are installing any app, then check the published date of the app. If it has been put on the Play Store recently, or it has some previous history, what is the review, what is the user's feedback, whether there are other versions of the same app or not, because so many fake apps are available on the Google Play Store or on the another Play Stores also. If it is a case of fake websites, then there are high chances that there will be mistakes in the URL. People do create lookalike websites. Say, for example, ICICI. So they may take ICICbank.com. So that I is missing, and people do, they may be mistaken. Okay, this is the current genuine website. It happened long ago, years ago. It happened. Same lookalike website of ICICI Bank came up, and people were duped. So check for the titles, URLs, or descriptions. Check for the HTTPS. When we type the URL, it shows at http://www.xyz or facebook.com. Nowadays, it is compulsory or mandatory for everyone to have HTTPS. S stands for security. There is one website called as whois.com. If you will open up this website, whois.com, and type in the website URL which you are visiting, it will give you the credentials to whom this domain has been registered, what is his or her whereabouts. So you may check your own also. Then there is, you may check the website's image quality. If image quality are not good, they are of poor quality, that means there is something fishy. Because what happens is cyber criminals do create fake websites and they are in hurry. They run these websites for a couple of months only. After 3-4 months time, they shut down one website and they come up with a new website to trap more people. So they don't invest that much money to make a exact or high quality website. Another point is read app permissions carefully. So what happens is whatever app we are using, we simply install and okay, but it should not happen. If you are not, if you have installed it just for the sake of testing, okay, test it, but after that uninstall it if you are not using that. If you want to retain that, then restrict the permission, go to the settings, put your microphone off, never share your photograph with that particular app or contact details with that particular app. So whatever permissions are necessary, only provide those permissions. If there are security updates or you are seeing any pop-up on your handset, never install those. Never click on any link which has been shared via email or SMS or through Facebook messaging services from the unknown especially. What happens is when we click on the link, some code may get execute in your device, whether it is a phone or your desktop or laptop. And you never know what code, what was written in that code, what has been executed, whether it is a malware or spyware, or person has installed some keylogger into your device. What keylogger does is, then whatever you will be typing into your devices, that will be emailed to the cyber criminal automatically. So there can be programs which are written like that for that purpose only. Never share your OTP, UPI PIN, or confidential information with anyone. QR code, never required for receiving the money. Never update your KYC over phone. It should be done face to face. Even avoid giving your fingerprints for this your porting of the number or Airtel or Vodafone. Avoid that. It is better you give them the Aadhaar card, let them verify it at their end, because you do not know what kind of, how they are keeping their data safe. So it is better to avoid as long as possible. Remote apps should be avoided. If you want to install it, then make sure you are sharing your screen, your handset or laptop or desktop with your known people only. Never share these things with unknown people. Sometimes these kind of applications are vulnerable. And suppose you have shared it with your known person and it is already there in your phone or device and you have not uninstalled it. Maybe by chance tomorrow hacker installs something into your device and he exploits the vulnerability of these remote apps. So maybe at later stage, cyber criminals do take some information from your phone. One incident happened long ago. There was a girl in Mumbai. She has come from some urban area, but not some metro city. She was living in one room apartment, and one day she went for the interview. What she finds is that from the board members, one fellow comes up and he says that you will get the job. And she was wondering how I'll get the job when I have not been interviewed yet. So he gave her some different gestures. Then he said he has seen her images somewhere. So she was wondering how come, because she was not never been involved into such stuff. She was not active even on the social media. She has never shared her images with anybody. So how come her, this kind of images are available on net? So 1 or 2 days she was in stress. Finally, she shared the incident with her parents. They filed a complaint with the police. And what police investigated is that her device was on, laptop was on, because she was living in one room apartment there in Mumbai. So some hacker got access of her laptop, and when she was changing, he took her photographs and he put them on the net, on some porn website or something there. So if you are using your laptop, make sure that you put a sticker on the camera. Without your giving the permission, there are chances that person may exploit the camera. So put a sticker on it. If you are not using, if you are not in online meetings or something like that, I always put a sticker over there if I am not using the camera. Sometimes what happens is people do share Google Forms for taking up the personal information. Like in colleges also, we are in habit of using Google Forms. So when we are on the Google Form, make sure that you are not sharing your banking detail via Google Form, because this information can go anywhere. Your Gmail of that person can be hacked, or sometimes we have found that many websites are hacked, or their user ID and passwords are available on dark web or on many forums. People can buy those stuff. So avoid doing that. If your handset is not having network, then be alert. Never ignore that okay, there is some network glitch. Make sure to check your bank account, check whether any is there any financial transaction, whether it is of 50 rupees, because sometimes these criminals do the small transactions. One senior officer who is from anti-terrorism squad, he was sharing a couple of days ago that there has been multiple transactions almost daily of 666 rupees from his account. So imagine if person is doing same thing for 10 days or 20 days, he will lose good amount. And because we are we are in habit of doing online shopping, so even we do not remember how much money has been deducted from my account. We just assume, okay, maybe I spent somewhere. So never ignore even the transaction of a small amount. Never do any UPI transaction if your phone battery is weak, because if there is something wrong and your phone goes off, then it is very difficult to get the money back. So make sure your device is fully charged when you are doing any financial transactions. Strong password is something I believe everyone knows, but still we are careless. That is why I have put it here, that make sure that your password minimum length is 8, or make it at least up to 10 or 12. Always use alphanumeric plus uppercase character. The more lengthy is the password, the more secure it is, because it becomes difficult to crack the password. If we use any methodology to crack the password, then we have to try all the permutation and combination, and it is difficult. Two-factor authentication must be used on every app. Never avoid saving the passwords in your device, and please avoid this habit of using free Wi-Fi, whether you are sitting in a cafe or college campus or railway stations, because always remember, nothing comes free. On our Indian railway stations, Google is offering free Wi-Fi. Google has some tie-up with the railway, and they are offering free Wi-Fi. So why Google will offer free Wi-Fi? It is simple, that they will be collecting the data, and the data can be used in a number of ways. They can track the spending habits of the people who come from the middle class or lower middle class or from the financial weaker section. And it is very difficult to understand what are their spending capacities or spending habits, which item they like most and which item they do not like. So if they offer something free, that is used for their vested interest. Nothing comes free. Similarly, whatever people from the educational institutions or working professionals, they are doing using artificial intelligence, they are generating various kind of reports, the various kinds of data, and which is being sold to n number of companies. Always make sure that you apply proper privacy settings to your social media accounts. If there is anything wrong and you find any post is vulgar, immediately report that post to social media. Facebook has a report facility in their post. I believe that you must be aware. And if you feel that you do not know any of the features which I'm talking about, you may mail me later on and I'll tell you the steps how to do it if you find any difficulty. So always make sure that you use the privacy settings. Never accept friend requests from unknown people just to make your circle big, because they may use your profile for their own purposes. Big and another important point is smartphone always listen to us. If we are talking and a small smartphone is on the table, or I have put it on the side table and microphone is on, so that means Google is hearing to us. You may test it yourself. Suppose you had a phone call with your friend or you talk something else. Same time, after some time or in a day's time or 2 days time, you will receive some of the emails related to that particular topic which you have discussed. So how come Google knows? That means somebody is listening. And whatever applications we are installing in our phones, we are granting them all of the permissions. Comes free. Why somebody will develop an app and will give the people to use it free? Does it make sense? No. So they use the data, they listen us, they use our photographs, contact lists, everything. So for reporting this type of cyber crimes, Ministry of Home Affairs has come up a very good and user-friendly portal, which is cybercrime.gov.in. Over there, you can register the complaint, police take the action. This is the national portal. Very active people are there. Even Home Ministry senior officers are involved in this. I have seen them working on it, and track is being kept. How many complaints have been solved? How many are pending? If pending, then why? So ministries are working on in that way. And if you want to register complaint anonymously, so there is a facility. You need not to give your identity to them. Anonymously can also, you can register your complaint. So these are the few points. And on the same topic, I am writing a book which is complete and it is with the publisher, and it will be available soon for everyone to read, print version plus the e-format, wherein I'm talking about the evidences also. So what I have done is, suppose I have been, somebody has duped me using the email, then what kind of evidences as an ordinary citizen I can retain, so that when I file the complaint, I can provide those evidences to the police and it becomes easy for the investigation. So what are the evidences for each case? So I have covered the book like that. Now we can come up to the questions, and no doubt about it that you can reach me anytime if you have any query, even post session also. You can drop me the mail. If you have any questions, you may come up, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for throwing light on the.
Your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So, thank you, ma'am, for throwing light on this fragility of the cyberspace. I guess you were able to elaborate all other stuff. And now we would like to come to the question answer session of our webinar. We had some questions on the feedback on the feedback form, and also in the chat. So let's come to the questions. My first question is as you thrown light on that while the microphone of our phones generally track us while we are conversing. So, ma'am, but in similar cases, if we converse with our colleagues on WhatsApp, which is end-to-end encrypted, still also it takes our data and shows us ads related to that data. Like if we share something related to a watch that we recommend a watch to a friend, then also it's gets leaked or shows us ad even if it's end-to-end encrypted.
See, it is very clear, nothing is free. WhatsApp is being given to us as a free app, though they are saying that it is encrypted. But you just imagine yourself now, suppose you have developed the app, why you will give it to the people for free? Yes, they do say that it is encrypted, but don't you think that people are being caught, cyber criminals are being caught, so data is being used by the police? So it is not encrypted. Yes, they may say encrypted, but it is not necessary that that data, they are not using it. They are using it. And if you will Google, you will find some conversation when Facebook took over it. WhatsApp senior official resigned because he was not in agreement with the Facebook, because Facebook has been using data for vested interests. So you may Google it your own and you may find that there was some dispute about it. So because it's a third party app, so we cannot comment about its security or whatever they are committing to us.
Ma'am, another question we have is generally, ma'am, what we see in today's world is everything is being linked, and also government is promoting us towards an online world in which facilities like DigiLocker, etc., are linking all the certificates or our data. So, ma'am, is it in one hand it's becoming more of on a single click basis, and on the other hand we are becoming more and more fragile? So, is it a boon or a trap?
It's a both ways. See, if we are walking on the road or if we are driving the vehicle, it does not guarantee, or if I am a perfect driver, it does not guarantee that I will be safe on the road. There may be mistake by other people or whatever we do. So it's a boon plus, everything has plus and minuses both. Only
Also,
thing is that we should be very careful. Suppose we are doing any banking transactions, so we should take certain precautions. Like, first thing is always use licensed softwares. Windows should be licensed. Your system must have antivirus, and that is not free version. You should have it paid one. Plus, whatever you are doing, suppose I'm transferring some money to any X account. So just close all the apps, close all the browsers. Do not do any activity on that particular device that time. Even what you can do is you can reset your modem, do your activity, then again reset your modem or restart your device. Always make sure that you delete the temporary files from the browser, delete the history, keep on deleting your recycle bin. These are the precautionary measures which we can take. Plus, there are RBI guidelines. So we, as an ordinary citizen, we must be aware what are the RBI guidelines. There has been some case where person was duped and he even never applied for the net banking, but somebody did some transactions from his account. So his money was, bank has returned his money. He could file the case, and these are the RBI transactions that clear-cut directions that bank will refund the money, because I never opted for the online or net banking. How can money be deducted from my account? I have not shared my OTP, or I am not indulged into these activities. So we must go through the RBI websites. We should read what are the RBI directives. Or say recently this Hathras case came up. So there is a clear-cut advisory by the MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, that if some girl or female is approaching, so they have to register the complaint or register the FIR. So many things are there. So better we visit the government websites, read the directives, and plus follow the precautions.
Ma'am, as you said that there are many unnecessary permissions required or pop-ups in apps. So, ma'am, there are some apps in which we can deny these access, but in many apps, these are constant pop-ups or we can't access the app. So, is there any way to bypass or do we need to look for their alternatives?
First, if you are looking for the alternative, then you have to make sure that that is safe. How will you guarantee that this app is not safe and that is safe? If you are sure, that definitely you can look for the alternative. But if it is not and you have to use that app, say for example any conversation app, somebody is living, say let's take the example of botting, for example. So people who are living in UAE, they use botting. Here we are using WhatsApp, some people are using WeChat. So if I have to use that, that means I have to use that. I will talk and later on uninstall that. I'm not saying that bottom is vulnerable or WhatsApp is vulnerable. Only the thing is, if I find that something is objectionable into any app, any third party app, use that and uninstall that.
Ma'am,
For banking purposes, we should have, preferably we should have two numbers, one and have two account numbers. In one account, in one banking account, keep very low balance, say 10,000 rupees, 20 or 50,000 rupees, and use that account for your online transactions and keep rest money into separate account. Don't link it with a Google Pay or Paytm or something like that.
Ma'am, as in today's world of modernization, many smart devices like even smart TV, smart lights, Google Home and Nest, like these devices, are these becoming helpful or in the long run they are just trapping us because they will have complete access over our houses and they
See,
have.
that is the game of economics. That will always go on. Even if we people do use VPN. I do not know whether you are aware about the VPN
Yes,
or
virtual
not.
private network.
Yes. So we use VPN. And there are many instances when we heard that VPN was recorded the sessions or they say that it is encrypted, but they have all the logs. So we cannot trust anything just like that. Either though we should be technical, enough to know that yes, this is being done. Otherwise, do whatever you want to do and simple delete that. Or take the precautionary measure. That's the best thing. Basically, we have to develop one cyber culture within our system. Yes, this is what, or say cyber hygiene. That has to be followed by everyone. If we talk about the smartphone, you go to the remote area, whether that village is properly connected with the roads or railway or not, but people are on smartphone. So if we are using digital methods or digital devices, though that means we should make our people aware. So cyber hygiene has to be there, like anything. Just like there has been campaigns by the government like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, or for polio also there were campaigns. So up to some extent or up to large extent, there are results. We can see the improvement. So like this, we have to spread awareness among our citizens for this cyber hygiene.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering these questions with patience. If anyone is left with the questions, they can drop it in the chat box or in the feedback form. It will be mailed to you. Now, I would like to request Spade's President, Varuni Chopra, to formally deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. As the president of SPADE, I, Varuni Chopra, would like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker, Ms. Priyanka Tomar, for taking out time from her schedule and gracing us with a very valuable and informative webinar on preventive measures to ensure a safe cyber presence. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our principal, Dr. Shiv Kumar Sahadev, for being a constant source of motivation for us, and our convener, Dr. Prabhud Mishra, for helping us take SPADE's legacy of redefining notions forward. The session couldn't have been made as enriching as it was without the support of our mentors, our teachers, and the organizing team of SPADE. At last, I would like to extend my heartfelt, sincerest gratitude towards our audience for being patient and attentive listeners. Thank you very much. Before we conclude the session, I would like to request all the participants to fill the feedback form for this webinar, the link for which has been circulated via the chat box. Your certificates will be emailed to you once you fill the feedback form. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.